the softest, quietest corner of the world, lay the kingdom of Lumenvale, a land where the night skies shimmered like oceans of diamonds and the days drifted by like clouds of silk. In the center of Lumenvale stood a delicate castle of white marble and pale gold, where a young princess named Liora lived. Princess Liora was no ordinary princess. Though her golden hair and gentle smile made her look like one from a picture book, she had a very special gift. She could hear the whispers of the stars. Every night, when the moon rose and the world grew hushed, the stars above would murmur secrets, songs, and stories just for her. The people of Lumenvale didn't know about her gift, for she kept it close to her heart. But lately, the stars had grown quiet. One evening, after a long day of walking among the garden roses and feeding the swans at the lake, Liora lay on her bed and gazed out of her tall window at the sky. It sparkled just as it always had. But when she closed her eyes to listen, nothing. No whispers, no songs. Just silence. Her heart sank a little. What's happened to my stars? She wondered aloud. And so, under the soft silver glow of the moon, Princess Liora made a wish. Please, dear stars, tell me how to help you shine again. At that very moment, a single star, the tiniest one in the sky, shimmered a little brighter than the rest and sent down a faint whisper. Find the quiet within, and we will sing again. The next morning, Liora woke early and thought about the tiny star's words. Find the quiet within. But what does that mean? Her nursemaids bustled about, brushing her hair and dressing her in gowns of softest velvet. But all day long her mind was somewhere else. At breakfast, she asked the royal chef, Sir Basil, do you know how to find the quiet within? Sir Basil chuckled, sprinkling sugar on her porridge. Why, princess, the kitchen is never quiet, not within, not without. But sometimes I close my eyes and breathe deeply while stirring the soup. That feels like quiet, even in all the noise. Liora nodded. That sounded close. Later, she visited the royal library and asked the old librarian, Madam Sage, do you know how to find the quiet within? Madam Sage smiled softly, her hands full of books. Ah, child, quiet isn't something you find out there, she said, pointing to the windows, but in here. She tapped her chest gently. That evening, Liora decided to go on a journey. Not far, but just enough to find her own quiet. If she could find it, she thought, maybe the stars would sing again. With only a soft cloak, a basket of bread and honey, and a little lantern, Princess Liora slipped out of the castle gates and into the whispering woods beyond. The woods were said to be magical. Birds here sang lullabies, the trees swayed as if listening to secrets, and fireflies drifted about like tiny lanterns. At first, Liora was afraid. The woods were very dark and very quiet. Not the cozy quiet of her bedchamber, but a deeper, velvet kind of quiet. She walked along a winding path until she came to a clearing where a large pond mirrored the stars above. She sat down by the water and closed her eyes. She breathed in and out and listened. At first, she only heard her own heartbeat. Then, very faintly, she heard it. A soft, starry hum, like a lullaby floating on the breeze. Her heart swelled. The stars, she whispered. But just then the sound faded again. Liora opened her eyes and found a small, shimmering figure standing across the pond. A fairy, no taller than her hand, with wings that glowed like moonlight. "Princess Liora," the fairy said in a voice that was both quiet and strong. "You seek the quiet within, yes?" "Yes," said Liora, her voice almost a whisper. The fairy smiled. "Then follow me." The fairy led Liora deeper into the forest, over gentle hills and through silver meadows, until they came to the foot of a great mountain, the Mountain of Echoes. "This mountain," said the fairy, "is where many come to listen to themselves. You must climb it, slowly and quietly, and at the top you will find what you seek." Liora nodded, though her legs already felt tired from her walk, but she began climbing. The mountain path was steep, but lined with soft moss and tiny blue flowers. Birds flew above her, and somewhere far below she could hear the gentle rush of water. Halfway up, she stopped to rest on a rock. She was tempted to speak, to call out to the fairy or to sing, but she remembered the tiny star's words, "Find the quiet within." So she sat very still and very quiet, and that's when she heard it again. The hum of the stars, soft and warm in her chest, as though the whole sky was breathing with her. She closed her eyes and let the sound fill her. At the top of the mountain, she stood alone under the vast night sky. The stars shimmered above her like diamonds scattered across velvet. And this time, when she listened, she didn't just hear whispers. She heard songs. "Welcome back, Liora," the stars sang. "You found us again because you found yourself." The next morning, Liora woke at the top of the mountain with her cloak wrapped snugly around her. She felt calm, lighter than she ever had before. The fairy appeared again and gave her a little bow. "You have learned," the fairy said. "The quiet within you was always there. You only had to stop and listen." Liora smiled. "Thank you." She walked back down the mountain and through the woods, the starry song still humming inside her. When she reached the castle, the sun was just beginning to rise. The guards opened the gates for her without a word, and her nursemaids fussed over her, but she just smiled at them all. That night, she lay in bed by her tall window. She gazed at the stars, and they gazed back, shimmering and whispering their lullabies just for her. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you." The stars twinkled in reply. "Sleep now, Princess Liora. You are home." And so, with the whispers of the stars and the quiet she carried within her, Princess Liora drifted into the most peaceful, contented sleep of her life. Her breathing slowed, her hands relaxed on her silken sheets, and the stars watched over her like gentle sentinels. And in the quiet kingdom of Lumenvale, all was calm. When the morning sun slipped through the curtains of Liora's chamber, she woke slowly, stretching under her soft covers. The whispers of the stars still lingered in her mind, like the memory of a song, but something felt different. When she rose and opened her window, she noticed that the entire garden below glimmered faintly, as though sprinkled with stardust. The air itself hummed with a quiet magic. It seemed the stars had left her a gift. On the windowsill lay a small golden key tied to a ribbon of silver silk. Liora picked it up and heard, faintly, "Your journey is not yet complete, Princess. The quiet you found is only the beginning." A note beneath the key read, "Beyond the meadow and under the hills lies the door of dreams. This key unlocks what your heart truly seeks. Liora smiled to herself. Then I shall find the door of dreams. She slipped the key into a pocket of her cloak, took her little lantern, and began walking toward the meadow beyond the castle gates. The meadow was alive with wildflowers swaying in the soft morning breeze. Petals danced around her feet, and butterflies traced lazy loops in the air. She walked for hours, enjoying the silence, or rather the quiet symphony of wind, birds, and her own heartbeat. Halfway across the meadow, she came upon a strange sight. A circle of rabbits sitting perfectly still, their long ears turned toward her. At the center of the circle sat a single snow-white hare with eyes like tiny stars. "You carry the key of stars," the hare said softly, in a voice like rustling leaves. Liora blinked. "Yes," she said. "Do you know where the door of dreams is?" The hare nodded solemnly. "Below, always below, but beware. The path may tempt you to forget your quiet." Then the rabbits parted, revealing a hidden stairway beneath the grass. Liora thanked the hare and began to descend. The stairs led her into a wide underground chamber where her footsteps echoed like gentle chimes. The walls shimmered with tiny glowing stones, casting soft light everywhere. Here, she heard voices, not whispers this time, but louder, chattering sounds. "Come play with us. Run, dance, shout. No need to be quiet here." All around her, shimmering figures, children made of light, ran and laughed, beckoning her to join them. For a moment, Liora felt the urge to laugh and shout with them, but then she pressed a hand to her chest and breathed deeply. She closed her eyes and let her quiet return. When she opened her eyes, the children of light were gone. The path ahead stood clear. At the far end of the chamber stood a massive wooden door, carved with stars, moons, and flowers. It had no handle, only a keyhole shaped like a tiny star. Liora reached into her cloak, pulled out the golden key, and slid it into place. With a soft click, the door of dreams swung open. On the other side was a beautiful garden bathed in starlight, though it was still day above ground. Trees sparkled with crystal blossoms. Fountains shimmered with water that glowed faintly, and soft music floated on the air. In the center of the garden stood a figure, tall, cloaked in midnight blue, with eyes like the deepest sky. "Welcome, Princess Liora," the figure said. "I am the guardian of dreams. You have shown patience, stillness, and bravery. What do you wish for?" Liora thought about the question carefully. At first, she thought she might wish for the stars to never go silent again. But then she realized she already carried their song within her now. "I wish," she said softly, "that everyone in my kingdom could find the quiet inside themselves, the way I did, so they can hear the stars too." The guardian smiled, and the entire garden glowed brighter. "A wise wish," they said, "and so it shall be." The guardian touched Liora's forehead, and warmth spread through her whole body. When she opened her eyes again, she was lying in her own bed, back in the castle, with morning light pouring in. She rose and went to her window. Below, the people of Lumenvale were walking slowly through the gardens, smiling softly, stopping to breathe, to listen, to watch the clouds. Even the busy chefs and bustling guards seemed calmer, more peaceful. The stars' song hummed faintly in the air, and in her chest, Liora felt the quiet stronger than ever. That night, the king and queen declared a festival to celebrate the peacefulness that had settled over the kingdom. Lanterns floated into the sky, fireflies danced among the guests, and everyone shared stories of what they had heard when they listened to the quiet within. Some heard songs, some heard old memories, some simply felt warm and calm. Liora watched them all from her balcony, her heart full. The snow-white hare even appeared on the lawn below, giving her a little bow before disappearing into the night. When the festival ended and the guests drifted home, Liora returned to her chamber, removed her crown, and slipped into her soft bed. She looked once more at the sky, now filled with thousands of shimmering stars. "Thank you," she whispered. The tiniest star twinkled back. "Sleep now, princess. You've brought quiet to the world." Liora pulled her blankets close, closed her eyes, and breathed in the soft quiet of the night. As the stars whispered above her, she drifted into the deepest, most peaceful sleep of all. That night, as Liora slept under her soft blankets and the stars shimmered above, she found herself in another dream. Yet it felt so real she could smell the sweet lavender air. She stood at the edge of a great glass lake where moonlight sparkled on the surface, and tiny silverfish leapt gracefully in the shallows. On the other side of the lake rose a tall tower made of pure crystal, and from its top shone a light brighter than the moon. Beside her stood the snow-white hare. "You've come far, princess," he said. "But there is still one lesson left to learn before you truly become a keeper of the quiet." "What lesson?" Liora asked. The hare tilted his head. "You will know when you reach the Tower of Light, but the path is long and full of little trials. Are you ready?" Liora smiled softly. "I am." To reach the Tower of Light, Liora first had to cross a field where the ground was covered in petals, thousands and thousands of them, soft as feathers. At first it seemed easy, but then she noticed that each step she took made the petals whirl and rise into little storms. Soon she was surrounded by spinning petals and couldn't see the path at all. For a moment, fear rose in her chest. But she closed her eyes, placed a hand over her heart, and whispered, "The quiet is within me." The petals slowed, settled back to the ground, and the way ahead cleared. Next, she came to a brook that sang, literally sang, a cheerful, fast tune that made her want to skip and laugh and run. The water sparkled, and its song was so tempting that she nearly jumped in and floated away with the current. But the hare's words echoed in her mind. "You must remember the quiet inside you." So Liora knelt by the brook, closed her eyes, and listened. Not to the brook, but to the calm beneath it. And just like that, the brook's song softened into a gentle hum, and she was able to cross a little stone bridge to the other side. At last, she reached the base of the Tower of Light. It shimmered with so much brilliance that it hurt her eyes. At the foot of the tower stood another figure. This time, a graceful woman in a gown of stars, with long hair that floated like the night sky. "Welcome, Princess Liora," the woman said. "You have walked the path of petals, crossed the singing brook, and arrived at the Tower of Light. Do you know why you are here?" Liora thought for a moment. "To learn the last lesson," she said. The woman smiled. "Yes, and the last lesson is this. Quiet does not mean silence. It does not mean stillness. It means peace, even when the world is noisy. It means carrying the stars in your heart wherever you go." With those words, the woman touched Liora's forehead, and the world around her lit up in 1,000 soft colors. Liora felt warmth fill her from head to toe, as though the whole sky lived inside her now. When Liora opened her eyes again, she was lying in her bed, the morning sun just peeking over the horizon. The stars' whispers were still there, but now she also heard the birds outside, the rustling of leaves, and the footsteps of her nursemaids. And none of it disturbed her quiet. She rose, feeling calm and light, and stepped to the window. Below, the people of the kingdom were already awake, moving gently through their morning. She could sense that they too carried a little bit of quiet inside them now. The white hare sat at the edge of the garden, gave her a nod, and then hopped away, leaving only a faint shimmer where he'd stood. That day, Liora went to the throne room, where her parents sat discussing royal matters. "Mother, father," she said softly, "I have something to share with the people." Her parents looked at each other and nodded. So Liora stood on the balcony before the whole kingdom and said, "I have learned that the quiet within us is the greatest treasure of all, more precious than gold or jewels. When we stop, breathe, and listen, we can hear the whispers of the stars and the song of our own hearts, and we can carry that peace wherever we go." The people smiled and bowed their heads. From that day forward, every evening at sunset, the whole kingdom would pause, even just for a moment, to breathe, listen, and remember the quiet within them. Many moons later, on the longest night of the year, the skies over Lumenvale lit up with falling stars. Hundreds of them, streaking across the heavens like silver ribbons. The people gathered in the gardens, lying on soft blankets, watching the dazzling display. Liora sat with her mother and father, her friends, and even Madame Sage and Sir Basil from the kitchen. They all sat in silence, just listening to the sky. For the first time, Liora felt not just her own quiet, but the quiet of everyone around her, all together. The tiniest star shot across the sky and whispered to her one last time, "You have become the keeper of the quiet, dear princess, and your kingdom shines brighter than ever." That night, after the last star had fallen and the lanterns had been blown out, Liora returned to her bedchamber. She slipped out of her gown, into her soft nightdress, and climbed into bed. Her room glowed faintly from the starlight streaming through her window. She nestled under her blankets, took a slow breath, and closed her eyes. The whispers of the stars lulled her like a lullaby. The quiet inside her shone brighter than ever. And before long, Princess Liora drifted into the gentlest, most peaceful sleep, dreaming of meadows, streams, towers, and stars.